The tension began on the 31st day of May, 2006. The mission was absolute: to seize, to silence, to eradicate. 53 armed Swedish police officers, mobilized with government urgency, converged on a singular location in Stockholm. This was the moment the giants of Hollywood believed they had won. Their target, the Pirate Bay. The officers swept through the building, securing every piece of hardware. By midday, prosecutors held victory press conferences, declaring the death of the piracy empire, a site accessed by 25 million people daily. The internet, they confidently declared, was under control. But here is the terrifying paradox. Here is the detail that truly shook the foundations of international law. Just 72 hours later, the Pirate Bay blinked back online. It did not return meekly. Its new logo was a pirate ship aggressively firing cannonballs at the Hollywood sign. It was a declaration of defiance, a mockery of the massive operation. Think about the impossibility. They had seized every single physical asset. They had successfully arrested the founders. Yet, the beast still lived. The key question is not how they managed to survive, but why they became utterly impossible to kill. How did 3 unassuming Swedish hackers build a system so resilient, so decentralized, so completely defiant, that it defeated the combined power of governments and multi-billion-dollar corporations? If you cannot destroy this platform, you cannot control the internet. This is the chilling story of what it takes to achieve digital immortality. To truly grasp the Pirate Bay's immortality, you must understand the fire in the belly of its architect. We turn back to Stockholm, 2001. Gotfried Svartholm, just 19 years old. Forget the image of a meticulous programmer, imagine a digital anarchist with a genius-level intellect. His eyes, intense behind shaggy hair, saw the internet not as a simple tool, but as a battlefield where freedom of information was the ultimate prize. He believed that copyright was simply censorship for profit, and he was determined to wage war against it. His first server, a jury-rigged chaos of wires, hummed beneath his bed. This intimate, almost absurd detail shows you the true scale of the initial threat, a one-man uprising that would soon shake the foundations of Hollywood and global law. He found his soldiers Fredrik Neij, the silent technical wizard who ensured the code never failed, and Peter Sunde, the charismatic, perpetually smirking mouthpiece who managed the chaos. Together, they forged an absolute, radical declaration. Their 3 core principles became a mantra for millions: no tracking logs, no apologies, never yielding. Their creation, the Pirate Bay, was a genius piece of legal evasion. They held no illegal files. They merely provided the torrent tracker, an innocent map, guiding traffic across millions of peer-to-peer connections. They used the law against itself, positioning themselves on the thinnest, most defiant edge of legality. But their true escalation came when their usage exploded, and they faced rising costs. Instead of finding a legitimate backer, they founded PRQ, their own hosting company. This was their gauntlet thrown down to the world. PRQ operated under a single, outrageous rule: we host anything, and we will keep 0 logs, ever. This was not about mere profit. It was a direct, aggressive challenge to the world's most powerful corporate lawyers. In a world where every other competitor crumbled under the slightest legal pressure, the Pirate Bay's crew treated those threats as fuel. They collected the cease and desist letters like trophies of war. They were building more than a website. They were building an ideology, forging a community, and setting a dangerous new precedent for digital rebellion. They stood on their makeshift throne, waiting, daring the established order to attack. They believed they were right, and that raw, uncompromising human arrogance was about to launch them into the highest stakes battle of the digital age. The moment of reckoning arrived in February 2004. The titans of Tinseltown had run out of patience. Attorneys from DreamWorks, representing the apex of Hollywood's power, dispatched a formal, heavily stamped legal order. This was not a suggestion, it was a cold, calculated cease and desist, demanding the immediate purge of the torrent file for the animated blockbuster Shrek 2. The message was clear: submit to our authority, or face total legal obliteration. But this sterile legal threat did not land on a CEO's desk. It landed directly in the inbox of an insurgent. Gotfried Svartholm, the young architect known as Anaconda, showed no fear. He showed only contempt. His response was not a careful legal reply, but a masterpiece of calculated, digital aggression that would instantly become a legend. He dismissed their jurisdiction with biting clarity, correcting their fundamental error that Sweden was somehow a jurisdiction under the United States. He negated their entire case. And then, he delivered the psychological blow. With unfiltered, provocative arrogance, he declared that it is the opinion of us and our lawyers that you are morons. He concluded the message with a final, obscene sign-off, a gesture of absolute disrespect. Go F** yourself. Polite as usual, anaconda. They took this formal, confidential legal threat and posted the entire, unedited exchange including their scandalous reply directly onto the Pirate Bay's public homepage. This was their genius. This was their tactical pivot. They had turned their own potential prosecution into a viral, global marketing campaign. Every legal threat was instantly transformed into invaluable, earned media for their outlaw brand. Traffic to the site exploded, tripling overnight. They had successfully weaponized the dignity of their enemies. The Pirate Bay was no longer just a file-sharing service. It was the unapologetic, arrogant symbol of digital resistance, daring the world to come after its code. And the world was about to take that dare very seriously. The brazen reply from the Pirate Bay forced the establishment's hand. This was no longer just about files, it was about control and global authority. The Motion Picture Association of America intensified its lobbying. Pressure mounted on Swedish officials from across the Atlantic. The government wanted this embarrassing problem vanished. By May 2006, the plan was finalized, a coordinated, overwhelming show of force. Gotfried, however, was already 2 steps ahead. He received the clandestine warning the police are mobilizing. For months, the founders had prepared for this very scenario. Their disaster recovery plan was elegant in its simplicity, and utterly defiant. The entire database, the very heart and soul of the Pirate Bay, had been encrypted and stored on secure backup servers in the Netherlands. Gotfried had spent 2 years ensuring the site's complete existence could be compressed onto a single storage device and resurrected anywhere there was power. They were about to seize the physical hardware, the empty shell. But the data, the only thing that actually mattered, was already halfway across the continent. At 5:47 a.m. on the 31st day of May 2006, the raid commenced. 53 armed officers stormed the location. Teams hit 10 separate sites simultaneously. In the server room, hard drives were ripped from their racks, sliding into evidence bags. Gotfried Svartholm and Fredrik Neij were handcuffed and taken to separate interrogation rooms. By 11 o'clock that morning, Swedish television was running breaking news: notorious piracy website shut down. MPAA executives celebrated, declaring a permanent knockout. The Pirate Bay's web address returned only error messages. But nobody counted on the sheer, stubborn resilience of the hackers. Just after midnight on the 2nd day of June 2006, the whispers began. The site is back. Users furiously refreshed their browsers. The homepage loaded. The new logo, the cannonball-firing pirate ship, was now a victory banner. In the confusion of the raid, the team had flawlessly executed their contingency plan. They migrated the complete database, rerouted the digital traffic, and brought everything back online in less than 72 hours. The police seized the equipment, but they could not touch the code or the community. Peter Sunde, the public face, gave a press conference, his smile mocking the establishment's failure. The raid had not destroyed them, it had become the greatest advertising campaign in Pirate Bay history. Traffic exploded, doubling and then tripling pre-raid numbers. Hollywood tried to kill them, and accidentally made them invincible. The police raid had failed to destroy the code, so the establishment pivoted. They decided to destroy the symbols. The fight moved from the server room to the courtroom. February 2009. Stockholm District Court. 4 men sat at the defense table. Gotfried, pale and smirking. Peter Sunde, tweeting the trial's proceedings in real time. They dubbed it the spectacle, a trial designed purely for public consumption. They looked less like criminals and more like a band showing up for a controversial gig. The prosecution framed them as criminal masterminds who facilitated millions of violations. The defense stood firm on their core legal shield: they were an index, not a host. They never stored the files, they only provided the map. The courtroom quickly devolved into a battleground between technology and statute law. In a moment of absolute digital theater, a prosecutor attempted to explain BitTorrent technology to the court, and mangled the technical details so badly that Gotfried Svartholm himself, the defendant, was compelled to interrupt and correct him from the defense table. The gallery erupted in stunned laughter. The law, however, moved slower but with crushing finality. The verdict arrived guilty on all counts of assisting copyright infringement. Each defendant received 1 year in prison, and collectively, they were ordered to pay damages totaling 30 million Swedish kroner, roughly 3.6 million United States dollars. The judge's tone was stern, clearly intended to send a brutal message to anyone watching. The Pirate Bay's response was immediate and defiant. Their homepage updated its logo to a Mickey Mouse with its mouth taped shut, a silent protest against what they called Disney-backed censorship. Peter Sunde dismissed the fine as bicycle locking, a meaningless sum for a victimless crime. They vowed that not a single kroner would be paid voluntarily. Appeals dragged on for years. By November 2010, the appeal court upheld the sentences, though they were slightly reduced for some, but the fine skyrocketed to 46 million kroner, over $7 million United States dollars. An impossible, life-crushing sum for 4 young men. Finally, in 2011, the Supreme Court refused to hear further appeals. The sentences were final. When authorities moved in to collect the founders, they found an empty chair. Gotfried Svartholm, the architect, the coder, the anarchist, had vanished. He had fled the country, resurfacing only occasionally via encrypted messages. Officially, he had missed his appeal due to illness. Unofficially, he was a fugitive, living the philosophy he had coded: stateless, mobile, and utterly impossible to pin down. Interpol red notices went out. Swedish diplomats contacted governments across Southeast Asia. The authorities had missed the chance to capture the symbol. Now they were hunting a ghost. The authorities hunted a ghost, but Gotfried Svartholm was not idle. His time off grid dramatically escalated the stakes, shifting his narrative from a rebel to a genuine threat. August 2012. Phnom Penh, Cambodia. Gotfried was finally arrested and deported back to Stockholm to serve his sentence. But Swedish prosecutors immediately hit him with new, more severe charges: unauthorized access to Swedish government databases and attempted bank fraud. Investigators alleged that while Gotfried was supposedly laying low, someone using his equipment had breached systems managing the Swedish tax authority and attempted to penetrate Nordea Bank. The narrative had shattered. Gotfried was now framed as a black hat hacker attacking state infrastructure. He claimed his laptop was compromised by external parties, a plausible technical defense. But the court ruled he still bore responsibility. The escalation continued. Denmark requested his extradition, investigating a massive breach of their own, the hack of CSC, managing Danish police databases and social security systems. They traced the digital fingerprints back to the alias Anaconda. While the architect faced international courtrooms, his creation secured its true immortality. In 2012, the Pirate Bay made a radical evolution. They abandoned torrent files physical targets police could seize, switching exclusively to magnet links. A magnet link is merely a text string, a hash. You cannot confiscate an equation. This brilliant move made the Pirate Bay leaner, immune to legal harassment, and decentralized beyond meaningful control. They even released a complete database backup for any user to clone. The site had become a distributed, self-healing organism. The raids did not stop it. The convictions did not slow it. Gotfried's creation had outgrown its founders, becoming a phenomenon that simply refused to die. By December 2015, Gotfried Svartholm finally walked out of a Danish prison, a free man. His personal, decade-long war was over, marked by 3 years of running, multiple trials, and convictions across 2 countries. But the Pirate Bay still sailed. It remained online, serving data from servers authorities could not reach, maintained by a legion of anonymous admins and true believers. The site survived every raid, every domain seizure, and the imprisonment of all 3 founders. The Pirate Bay proved a single brutal lesson for the established order: you cannot kill what has no center. However, some people never learn. In 2011, a cybersecurity executive named Aaron Barr believed he had cracked the code on another faceless, leaderless movement, Anonymous. He publicly announced his plan: expose the leadership, sell the intelligence to the FBI. He had names. He had confidence. What he lacked was any concept of the power he had just challenged. Within 72 hours, Anonymous retaliated in a way that made the Pirate Bay raids look gentle. If you want to see what happens when someone declares war on the internet itself, check out our next video. And if you seek the truth behind the secret files, the dark, real-life stories the world tries to hide, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next hunt, because sometimes the hunter becomes the prey.